Leave. This table's for family only. My sister sneered, motioning to a flimsy folding chair shoved next to the trash can. Laughter rippled around the table as I stood frozen, my face burning. Mom avoided my eyes. Dad let out a low chuckle. My cousins snickered behind their napkins. The waiter looked uncertain, but I gave him a small nod and walked to the isolated chair. The sour stench of garbage tangled with the faint sweetness of the banquet flowers. My sister lifted her glass, glowing in the spotlight of everyone's approval, while I sat against the wall, the family's punchline, the outsider. But when the plates were cleared and dessert melted away, the bill landed. $4,600. The waiter's gaze swept the table, then stopped on me. Miss, will this be on your card? Every head turned. Every smirk widened. As always, they expected me to cover it. The dependable one. The quiet earner. The one who paid without complaint and carried the family's weight. Only this time I smiled. Not my table. The air froze. My sister's fork clanged against her plate. Dad's chuckle evaporated. Mom's lips parted, but no sound came. The waiter arched an eyebrow, then slid the leather folder toward the head of the table, toward my sister. And in that moment, as panic flashed in their eyes, I understood something. They never gave me a place at the table, but they couldn't eat without me. My name is Claire Dawson. I'm 32. And if you think you know how this ends, stay with me. Because this story isn't about the one they mocked. It's about what happens when she finally walks away. The silence stretched longer than the meal itself. My sister scrambled for her purse, the waiter's pen hovering. Claire, stop being dramatic, Dad snapped, voice tight. Just pay like you always do. We'll sort it out later. I leaned back, arms folded. No, Dad. You made it clear I'm not family. And if I'm not family, then this bill isn't mine. Gasps swept around the table. My sister's smirk crumbled as her hands fumbled with her expensive bag. You can't be serious. I don't have the money for this. The waiter cleared his throat politely. Ma'am, the restaurant requires payment in full. Her face drained of color. She turned to Mom. Cover it. She's just trying to embarrass me. Mom whispered without meeting my eyes. Claire, please don't make a scene. A bitter laugh slipped out. I didn't create this scene. You did, when you shoved me in the corner and laughed while I sat alone. You wanted me out of sight. Fine, but don't expect me to pay for a meal I wasn't welcome to share. The waiter set the bill squarely in front of my sister. The sound cracked like a gavel. For once, the room wasn't filled with laughter. It was filled with the weight of their own entitlement pressing down on them. And for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying it. I was free. The ride home was theater. My sister trembled as she signed the receipt, refusing to meet my eyes. Dad muttered about respect. Mom dabbed her tears, not because of what they had done, but because I had refused to play my role. I stepped outside first, the cool night air washing over me like a blessing. For once, I wasn't crushed under their demands. They could choke on their own arrogance and their own bill. But fallout came quickly. The next morning, a text from my sister. You humiliated us last night. Everyone's furious. Dad says you're selfish. Selfish. The word they always used whenever I said no. I typed back, not selfish. Boundaries. Then I set the phone down, poured my coffee, and watched the steam curl like a flag of victory. By noon, cousins messaged too. Why didn't you just pay? You always do. Exactly. That was the problem. They had cast me in a role I never agreed to. The provider, the fixer, the invisible wallet. But last night, I tore up the script. I pictured my sister's face when the bill slid toward her, the panic when she realized the safety net was gone. That wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. And clarity was my first taste of freedom. For the first time, I wasn't ashamed. They were. By the weekend, the family group chat exploded. Mom, Claire, your father and I are very disappointed. You embarrassed us in public. Dad, if you want to be treated like an adult, act like one. Adults take responsibility. My sister, you ruined my birthday dinner. Now everyone thinks I'm broke because of you. I stared at the screen, their words piling up, and let out a quiet laugh. Responsibility? I had carried theirs for years. Rent, utilities, emergencies. Even that designer bag my sister clutched while insisting she couldn't pay, I had helped cover it. This wasn't about responsibility. It was about control. I set the phone aside and picked up my paintbrush, dragging a bold streak of red across the canvas. For years, I muted my own colors to make space for theirs. Now I was painting loudly, wildly, unapologetically. An hour later, another buzz. A single message from Dad. Don't come to Sunday dinner unless you're ready to apologize. I smiled, dipped my brush in blue, and whispered to myself, then I won't be there. Because I had finally learned what they never wanted me to see. Love doesn't demand payment. Family doesn't come with an invoice. And if sitting at their table means buying my seat, then I'm done eating there. My parents' house. No casserole dish on the back seat. No knot of dread tightening in my stomach. Instead, I spent the morning alone, coffee in hand, music playing softly, the faint scent of fresh paint drying in my small apartment. Around noon, my phone started buzzing with missed calls. First Mom, then Dad, then my sister, her name flashing again and again until finally a text arrived. The kids keep asking where Aunt Claire is. Do you really not care about them? There it was, the gilt card, dealt with practiced ease. My sister had always been skilled at that move. She knew I adored those kids. She knew they were the only reason I'd tolerated years of teasing, midnight babysitting, and never-ending errands. But loving them didn't mean I had to be their servile lesson in sacrifice. I typed slowly, choosing each word. I care about the kids, but I won't teach them that love means being used. Find another lesson. The typing bubbles blinked on and off, then nothing. I set the phone down and stepped out onto the balcony. The sun lay warm across the city, rooftops aglow. A breeze lifted my hair and I inhaled the hush. It felt like stepping into a life I'd been denied, one where my worth wasn't counted by what I paid or what I gave up. For once, I wasn't anyone's safety net. I wasn't the invisible provider. I was just Claire, and maybe that was enough. By Monday, the news had moved through the extended family. An aunt messaged me privately. I heard what happened at the restaurant. Honestly, Claire, good for you. They've leaned on you too long. Her words made me stop. For years I believed no one noticed, the way I always picked up the tab, the way I was shoved to the sidelines, but apparently people did see. They just never said it aloud. Later that day, Dad left a voicemail, voice sharp. You've embarrassed this family. Your sister's friends are talking. You think this makes you strong? It makes you cruel. I played it back twice, not from guilt, but to drink in the irony. After years of being mocked, dismissed, treated like the fallback, Cruel was letting me sit beside the trash while they feasted like royalty. That night, I fished the receipt from my own dinner. A simple takeout I'd grabbed after the restaurant debacle. $14.75. I taped it into my journal and wrote beneath it, best meal of my life because it was mine. The next morning, my sister texted again, this time shorter, sharper. You're not family anymore. I stared at the message until it sank in. Not family. And yet, for the first time, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt liberated, because family that values you only for your wallet, your silence, your obedience isn't family at all. They believed their rejection would punish me. Instead, it freed me, and I planned to use that freedom. The days that followed were lighter than I'd imagined. Mornings no longer began with the dread of their demands, and evenings didn't echo with their critiques. I painted until dusk, colors spilling across canvases like visible proof of freedom. But freedom, I learned, creates ripples. On Wednesday, a cousin sent a screenshot from social media. My sister had posted a long, self-pitying paragraph. Some people turn their backs on family when things get hard. Money isn't everything. Loyalty is. Comments split. Some agreed with her, but surprisingly many asked the question she'd avoided. Why was Claire always the one paying? For once, the story wasn't hers to shape. That night Mom called again. Her tone had softened, almost broken. Claire, this is tearing us apart. Can't you just forgive your sister? Do it for the family. I listened, then answered slowly. Forgiveness isn't the problem. Respect is, and until you grasp that, nothing can be fixed. She went quiet, the line heavy with things unsaid. When I hung up, I felt no guilt, only a clear-headed calm. For years I'd thought belonging meant giving myself away until someone noticed. But belonging built on sacrifice isn't belonging, it's bondage. And I was finished living in chains. The truth was out. They could twist it, spin it, deny it, but enough people had seen to know. And so did I. The following Sunday, I sat in my apartment with the windows thrown open, sunlight stretching across the floorboards. I brewed coffee, its warmth filling the room, and for the first time in years, I didn't brace for Sunday dinner. I pictured the scene at my parents' house, the forced smiles, the simmering tension, my sister pretending she didn't feel their eyes. They'd always prized appearances, but appearances cost money. This time the check hadn't landed in my lap. As I scrolled my phone, another message arrived, this one from Mom. "Short, we miss you." I turned the words over in my mind like smooth stones. Did they miss me? Or did they miss what I provided? Did they want Claire, the daughter and sister, or Claire, the silent bank, the easy scapegoat? The answer didn't matter anymore. I set the phone aside and opened my journal. On a blank page I wrote, "Love without respect isn't love. Family without dignity isn't family. Tonight I choose myself." I closed the book and moved to my easel. A canvas leaned there, half finished, colors clashing in glorious mess. I dipped my brush into yellow and swept it across the surface, bold and unapologetic. It felt like breathing. As the brush traveled, I thought of the restaurant night. The laughter, the humiliation, the waiter's uncertain stare. And then my words, not my table. Those words changed everything. They weren't only about a bill. They were about a lifetime of being sidelined, ridiculed, erased, and finally refusing to pay for my own erasure. The bill was theirs to bear all along, and I was done carrying what wasn't mine. I stepped back from the painting, sunlight catching the yellow strokes, and smiled. This was my table now, my home, my life.